This is Alan Jackson, and this is the press release announcing his last call tour. It's a very smartly worded announcement that avoids big proclamations like last tour, but it definitely lets you know that the river of steady Alan Jackson shows is drying up. Questions like why and is Alan sick are understandable and appropriate. I'm Adison Haager, and Taste of Country's Billy Dukes will join me for 5 burning questions about what he knows, what he saw, and perhaps most importantly, how can you help? Yep, you can help. At bare minimum, you can love on him a little in the comments section below. Fan appreciation and support never hurts. So I'll start by asking, what's your favorite Alan Jackson memory? Alan's 2022 tour schedule is relatively lean at just 16 newly added announced dates. He'll start on June 24th in Biloxi, Mississippi, and wrap on October 8th in Pittsburgh. His busiest month is September with 5 tour dates. Officially, his tour is called Alan Jackson's 2022 Last Call, one more for the road tour. And as Billy joins us now, I have to ask, is October 8th the last time we'll ever be seeing Alan take the stage?
No, that's not likely to be true. As you pointed out, nothing in the announcement says that these dates are the last chance to see Alan, and it certainly doesn't sound like he'll retire after Pittsburgh. I mean, no offense to his fans in Steeltown, but when Alan calls it quits, he'll likely do it in Nashville or a venue that's a little bit closer to his hometown in Georgia. The only nod to finality is that the announcement states that this will be the last time he plays these specific venues, most of which he hasn't played in quite a while.
Okay, then I'll breathe a little sigh of relief. Can you remind everyone why Alan is at least hinting that his touring days are numbered? And also, what exactly is CMT, other than the Country Music Television Network?
Right, different CMT. It's called Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease, and it's inherited. It's a neuropathy condition that results in nerve deterioration and affects muscle function, movement, balance, and I'm literally parroting what's in the press release just because I know that information is sanctioned by a group called the CMT Research Foundation. I don't want to improvise and get it all wrong. Ultimately, CMT will limit Alan's ability to walk and take the stage each night, and it really could get worse from there. Per the Mayo Clinic, the hands and the arms might eventually be affected. He first shared this news last September before his show in Nashville, telling Today that he knows he's been stumbling around on stage for quite some time. He had known about this disease for quite a few years prior, but it got to a point where he wanted to be honest with his fans. The whole thing really kind of makes him uncomfortable on stage, but he kind of knows what to expect from it, as his grandmother, father, and sister all inherited CMT as well. It's not deadly, and it actually doesn't even decrease life expectancy.
So I guess the question becomes, will this affect the 16 shows he just announced? Will fans even notice?
Yes, absolutely. But if his condition hasn't deteriorated rapidly since last fall, it won't really affect show quality. I was at that show at the Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, and what I saw was a pretty typical Alan Jackson concert. I mean, he's never really been one to run from one side of the stage to the other, especially over the last 10 years or so. He stands and sings, and he relies on his super tight band, which is still super tight. What you're going to see is what I call the Alan stand. And I hope that doesn't sound crass or like I'm mocking him, because that's not what I mean to do here. But it's shaped like a guitar stand, except that it's as tall as Alan's midsection, and he kind of leans back on it, much like you would rest a guitar on a guitar stand, and you'll see him leaning against it for large portions of the concert. His voice and his focus are still there, and he doesn't really have any trouble interacting with the crowd. It was a really good concert.
Okay, great. That's really encouraging. But why this announcement? And what does last call really mean?
That's kind of the nut of it, isn't it? He's signaling. He's signaling that he knows he could go downhill really quickly, so he's giving fans a heads up. And I suppose that the most cynical of fans could call this some sort of marketing ploy. But listen, he doesn't need help moving concert tickets, you know? He's got fans that he's had for over 30 years, and this younger generation of country fan has found his music as well, so it's an interesting dynamic at live shows where you have the older audience down low on the floor, seated for the most part, and then these rowdy 20-somethings in the lower bowl getting really, really drunk. It's a fun dynamic. He's not going to be wheeled out there in a chair, however, so when his condition starts to get to the point where he can't take the stage in a way he's comfortable, he's going to call it a touring career. The speed of this deterioration isn't really known. He could roll out more last call tour dates in 2023 or even after that, Or he could cut the whole thing off after just a dozen shows this year if things start to get really, really bad. I think it's also reasonable to assume that there might have been some progression since I saw him last fall in Nashville. It will have been 9 months between shows. In some ways, he might be signaling that this is the case so that fans aren't really alarmed when we see him on tour this summer. You know, he's kind of like NFL quarterback Tom Brady in that he's one of the GOATs, and he's going to keep playing for as long as his body allows him to do it.
Will he still record?
There's no reason to believe he won't. He released his last studio country album a year ago, and nothing I've read indicates that his voice is or will be affected, although he might have to sit to sing to record, and that's going to be a new experience. George Strait was going to take this route when he retired about a decade or so ago, but he's all but unretired from the road. I think that George plays about as many shows each year as Alan plans to. At one point, Alan was a music-making machine. I think those days are probably behind him, but yeah, I could see him making a new album here or there going forward.
That's Billy Dukes, and as he mentioned, the CMT Research Foundation, an organization you can support by buying a ticket. $1 for every ticket sold goes to this research organization, and that total will be doubled by donors. The group has raised over $10 million in the last 3 years and funded 12 projects. I'm Adison Haager for Taste of Country. If you didn't already, hit the thumbs up button if you are a big fan of Alan Jackson and his music. And as always, thanks for subscribing.